Welcome to another exciting adventure of Riding Through the Unknown. I'm your host, Michael, and joining me tonight is a guest who many of you who watch this show will know from previous episodes, but tonight we're in for a treat because we're going to get to delve into the other side of her life and what she does. So I am so blessed and honored to be able to share this with you all. And so I'm going to turn it over to my awesome, amazing guest who is a great friend and has so much information to share with y'all. So we started a little early to hopefully get as much in as we can. So I'm going to hand it over to Amária to talk about what she's bringing tonight.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me on. It's been a pleasure being on shows with you again, and yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's always fun when you're on.
Thanks. It's been kind of a journey, just like, on the other side of things that we've talked about. A lot of what I've been presenting more recently is focusing on my abilities, like, what can I bring to the table? Because as a humanitarian and one that loves to try to do what I can, service to others, it's like sitting back and thinking sometimes, what can we do? We can talk, we can listen, we can share things that help others when they're asking for help and advice. And one of the things that I really love that has helped me is through frequency, through resonance. And I've been a musician pretty much most of my life. Grew up, did marching band and the orchestra. And then when I was in church, I did choir quite a bit. And I actually was the choir director for quite a bit. So I was a double major in college, music and pre-med. So always have had different interests in how things work. Of course, the body is something that fascinates me, and the mind as well. So that's kind of a lot of the rabbit holes I love to delve into. Working on my own health, just because I have had quite a few health issues in my life, and then learning, how to take care of the immune system, to how the body really works, and then as we age and are taking on other things, and I discovered the quantum universe. And I know that a lot of people, as we start waking up, we start to see things and hear things that it's kind of got a familiarity to it. And I was just curious and started looking more and more, and it started making more and more sense. And I love the concept of how frequency vibration can be super healing. I have one or two of my bowls here. I have a whole set. This is just my heart chakra bowl. This is the A432. And then the rest of the bowls are tuned to it. A lot of people are familiar with the bowls. They've listened to crystal bowls. Looks like my striker is missing. That's funny. But they have a really lovely resonance. Oops, hit it with my ring. But when you sit down and you listen, or lie down and listen to certain frequencies, they can have an impact on our health, our emotions. As we know, of course, listening to the radio, watching the TV. And I've really been...
Uh-oh. Hopefully she'll be coming back. Let's see. Oh, she popped out, so signal issue. It's, Wi-Fi is what it is and not always the best, but let's see if we can't get her back in. There she is.
All of a sudden I disappeared. So the frequencies, anyway, that were around, as we know, listening to the radio or watching TV, can make quite the impact. We're watching a movie and there's music that's going on and it can be suspenseful and it preps you for what they're getting ready to do next. And it's amazing how influential frequency can be. Like Masaru Emoto is one of the scientists that I absolutely love, a Japanese man. I wish he was alive today because I would love to meet him. And he's the one that did extensive study and research on water and how frequency affects water, not just sound frequency, but intention, like writing a word down on a piece of paper, like love or hate. And then he would place these words either underneath a cup of water or he would paste it onto the container that the water was in. And there was even studies that he did across the world with people with meditation. There's a lake, I think it's in Japan. I'd have to look back at his book that I have, that basically is really polluted. And so they tested people basically praying over it and asking for it to be purified and cleansed. And it actually changed the constituents of it to where it was actually more purified. And so even just our thoughts can change water through frequency. So if we think of how that relates to our bodies are like what, about 70% water. And so when we take that into consideration, then we really would want to think, okay, should I be careful what I'm putting in my body frequency wise? And yeah, there's days I want to have my heavy metal. And I know it's probably not the best thing, energy wise. It's cathartic for things that I release. And so I think that everything has its place. And then there's times that I just want to sit with the bowls and I want to meditate. I want to play, I want to chime. We have an ocean drum as well that we play with that it's in the other room. It's really loud and I don't know how it would be on these speakers, so I'll spare you guys that. But there's a lot of videos online. You can check YouTube out with the ocean drum or the sea drum. It's really fun. It's kind of a small, kind of like a Choctaw drum and really narrow. It's double-sided, stitched together, and you can play it with a mallet, or basically you just kind of rotate it and tilt it and allow these BBs inside to flow. And it sounds like the waves. It's really cool when you get the right motion going. It actually sounds like the ocean.
That's really cool. And I'm curious, talking about the tuning bowls. I've seen where you can get them glass or crystal style, but you can also get them copper or metal. Is there a difference? And if so, is one better than the other?
There is. My black bowls are in the other room, but most bowls that people are familiar with are usually kind of this white color. It's made out of quartz that's been ground up and then superheated. So kind of like making glass, only doing it with quartz crystal. And then they form them. I'm believing they're in molds as far as that goes. But this is just the standard quartz. My black bowls, I'm not exactly sure what they added to them to dye them. I mean, it could have been black sand, a number of things. I noticed there's just a very slight variation in pitch on these two bowls that match up with the other two bowls, but they're tuned to themselves. And so I think if someone were to get a bowl set, I would suggest getting an extremely high quality set. If you're doing, like, these guys were more expensive, they're a little bit thicker than my other bowls, but like I said, where they're tuned to each other, they feel great, they feel beautiful, and it's not that much of a pitch variation that it's like making an issue. I think it's only just barely a slight tune.
Yeah, I have a copper one I was looking for, but I'm not.
The copper ones are really fun, the Tibetan bowls. It's just different sounds, different areas that they've been made. I like the glass ones. I have seen clear ones. I haven't played them. I can't imagine they would be easy to play. A lot of them, they're kind of shiny on the inside, and then the outside, it's actually kind of rough. And so when you have your striker on it and you drag, I prefer the silicone mallets just because I think it has a better draw feel. The leather, to me, it's almost like scratching a chalkboard, and I get that because I can feel it and it's grabbing just right. So I'm like, So I don't want to be playing the bowls going, ha ha.
Yeah.
So we got to have our quirks, right?
Field, and then it skips because it catches, and it's like, and that was a brook. We'll put a brook there.
Oh man. I mean, we gotta enjoy life, so.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
So, what drew you to using the sound bowls?
I heard them being played. Oh shoot, where was I? Trying to remember if it was a conference or if I just happened across a meditation. But I really liked the way the crystal sounded. I mean, I'd heard the Tibetan bowls here and there. I thought, I like them. They're pretty cool. There's something with the resonance on the crystal bowls that it's like I get chills thinking about it. It's kind of interesting. When I'm sitting there and I'm playing them, it's like a connection that I'm making that I feel. And so sometimes I'll strike it, sometimes I'll drag the sound out. Sometimes what I'll do is, the way I have them set up is, if I'm wanting to play a couple bowls here and there together, they're within about a third. So it's a good harmony if I'm wanting to do something close. Just the resonance thing. I think it's similar to when I was a kid and I first joined orchestra. I heard the bass, because that's what I played in the orchestra, is the double bass. It's the giant violin on a stick for kids that aren't sure what that is, but it's taller than me. It's about 6 foot tall, and Henry's his name. I heard the resonance of that bass, and I had a friend that played, and I just listening to the symphony, I was like, whoa. And then the more that I've woken up, researched, even through near-death experiences, I was told, you gotta bring out those memories. A lot of people think, oh, it's gonna come, just like that. It's not always that way. Sometimes we have to kind of do a little work to get those memories back from the Akasha. Sometimes we got calcification up here, or illnesses that kind of prevent us from connecting as much. But when we start walking the path that we belong on, I guess you could call it, for those that are on the more spiritual route, things just flow together. And so playing the flute is another thing that I play. I haven't been in the orchestra or symphony in years. It takes a lot of time and effort. We used to do different Broadway type shows. So singing, I am in a band now that I've been in for about 3 years, and I sing. Sometimes we'll play piano with it. But it's just the resonance for me. Just hearing the music has always been so touching, and even being as a young kid listening to those things, it just really drove me to want to learn those instruments, so that when I was in those moments of performance, it just so cathartic and elating, and it's like you feel like you're molded by it and you flow with it, and it just grabs your energy. And just the more that I've developed myself as a person, I'll be 49 this year. I'm not afraid of my age. I'm really grateful for all I've learned. And, whatever people may think here or there, I listen to a few different people now and again. And I've been taking some leadership courses from Carrie Ann Thornton. She's another person that you might like. She's from Australia, and her mission is to rescue racehorses because of the abuse in that. But anyway, some of the things that I've learned, which I feel like I've known but I'm more connected with, is life will throw crap sometimes. And sometimes we step in it. Sometimes we walk around it. Sometimes it's in our face. It's, you know, sometimes it's horrible. It sucks. But then when we look back, or even in the moment, you know, what is it that we're grateful for in that moment so we can get through that challenge or that trial or whatever it happens to be? And what is it that I've learned? And really, I've learned so much, even though I've been through a lot of abuse and different types of torture and things that nobody should have to endure. At the same time, I look at it with indifference now, thinking, you know, I wouldn't be the person I am today had I not gone through that shit.
Yeah, that's the
And
hard pill to swallow.
so I really am striving to bring my session work to kind of a little bit different group. And so I still do the one-on-one sessions, like what I did with you, where I do the energy clearing and everything. With, excuse me, the sound baths, it's kind of fun to be able to do that on a larger scale with people. And so, you know, I'll still be asking your permission to work with your energies and then basically do the scans. And then if there's anything there that needs to be removed, I can just do it as a whole. And I don't really have to know details when I'm doing energy work. A lot of times when I'm doing a one-on-one session, I just basically talk what I'm doing and what I'm seeing. Just, you know, it's better than sitting there in silence with me going, I mean, it's the effect, right?
Although
I
that
mean,
would be fun
it would
to
be
watch.
awkward. So I'll at least do a portion of that where, you know, I'll be walking through if there's anything here that needs to be removed or contracts that need to be replaced. Then on a personal level, as that person receives that, and if there's anything that needs to be done, then so mote it be. If not, that's cool too. And you'll just benefit with that energy and just that cleansing feel, that balancing your electromagnetic fields, just the joy of being in a sound bath and just really truly feeling and absorbing those frequencies and those bowls
So
are wow.
I'm feeling drawn to ask a question, and I don't know why, because it's not one that I would personally do, but I keep thinking of, and it's like keeps popping in my head. And what it is using the Tibetan bowls and doing the sound bath and everything. When people are not wanting to do like their shadow work and doing, and wanting the quote magic pill to help them, is this something along those lines where they don't have to look at what's going on and that the sound just permeates through and does what it needs to do with or without your doing shadow work, so to speak?
I guess the question in response to that would lie basically, what is the trauma that's being caused? How bad is it? Is it something that's debilitating? If it is, and you want that to change, you have to do something. You know, I'm trying to think, who is it that says if you do the same thing all the time, but you expect different results, then isn't that the definition of insanity?
That would be Albert Einstein.
There we go. Thank you. So it has to hurt enough, and it sucks to hear it this way. And I know there's going to be people out there that's like, yeah, whatever. And I get it. I've been there too. We all
Yeah.
have that ego that gets pricked, and it sucks. It hurts. It's fucked up. There's things
Well,
that you know, we might be afraid would come out to someone else, or, you know, everyone has that feeling through childhood, growing up. The sound bath, in my best understanding, will do a benefit. If anything, it raises your frequency. And so with your frequency at a higher level, then as you're working with yourself, maybe it's just listening. Maybe that's all the breakthrough that you needed. Some people it might be that way. Some people it might be, okay, now this triggered something and I've got snot and tears. What's going on? And so if that's what's going on, then you could take a deeper look at, what am I releasing? Maybe what's coming to your mind, what pops into your mind. It's better when we can trust our gut instincts. And that's one of the ways that we can learn how to express that, basically knowing is, okay, what's coming to me? Write it down. How does that feel?
Yeah.
So if someone's wanting to work on trauma, yet doesn't really want to go deep into the shadow work, they're probably not ready. Think of the old hound dog laying on the porch and it's laying on a nail. And that nail's kind of sticking his bum. Well, he doesn't get up for a while because it doesn't hurt bad enough. But if he lays on that just right and it hits him in the nuts, he's going to move.
Oh, yeah.
So how bad does the nail hurt and where is it hitting you? And that's okay.
Yeah.
If you're not ready, you're there for a reason. You're being drawn to it for a reason. And so it might just be planting the seed. It might just be learning a little bit about yourself and about healing methods or things. Everybody's at a different level. And so that's okay. I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to say, welcome. And I'm glad you're here, because that's what's important, is you took the first step.
Yeah, and it actually, I think I know why I asked that question, because it led to another question. Is I pictured like the story Jericho, where they're playing the horns and the walls come crumbling down, so they say, which was sound frequency, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself and going, you're doing the shadow work. You're repetitively doing the shadow work, and you get to the point where you're like, how much more of this do I got to do on this one particular thing? This is getting annoying and frustrating, and I'm wondering if, like, the sound therapy, immersed in the sound, would it have the same effect of, quote unquote, knocking down the walls and eliminating, so to speak, whatever you're constantly working on, and taking it to like a more complete level than where you're apparently chipping away at it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think it can have two answers, actually. One of them, if you believe hard enough, your intent is enough. To have the intent with, like, if you're religious or spiritual, that faith of kind of believing enough that, you know what, I'm going to do this. I really believe that's going to work. Then yes, 100% it will work. I've seen people cure themselves of cancer. I'm not going to say I did it, but I worked with them and I could feel it. Their passion, their drive, their faith was so strong that when they went to the doctor, that cancer was gone. And then I've seen the other side with people that are skeptics, and that's fine. Great, be a skeptic. I can be one of the most skeptical bitches sometimes. And, it doesn't mean that just because you're a skeptic, you're a bitch. I'm a Gemini with a Scorpio rising. That says enough. I'm just going to admit it right here. But it's that little doubt is enough to kind of lower that vibration, because even though maybe that frequency is there kind of pulling at us, we can basically direct that any way that we want it to go. We could even make it harmful and annoying if we want to. And so, yes and no. It depends. Where's your heart? Where's your desire? And do you have enough hope and desire to just put trust and just do it and see what happens? And maybe your desire or faith is strong enough that you believe it so much that it's already there and you've got that gratitude. And so that's part of manifesting, that people that might be familiar with The Secret or other things that they didn't really talk about. And they talk about their vision boards and everything, and oh yay, I've got everything that I want. It's written out. It's a big plan. Where's your gratitude? Where is it in the heart that it feels so amazing that in your heart you already have it and you're grateful for it? And somehow the universe is going to steer you in the direction of attaining that. And then kind of let it go for a minute. And it's not grabbing, because when we start grabbing, then that's that idea of lack. And so if we have that same idea of, okay, well, this is frou. I'm going to come here and listen to these stupid bowls, and they're going to play, and everyone's going to be, oh my god. I guess if that kind of makes it, we choose, we create. And so it really, really, really depends on what our attitude is. And so even if you got that desire, just put a little faith out there. Put a little faith out there.
I'm not gonna lie, that was so funny. I'm almost tempted to say, how did they sound again?
Well, you don't know. Hope you didn't know you were gonna get comedy hour today. I figured I'd really let my hair down. So I think sometimes people need to see it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to not have to be on a show with a broomstick up your back, and just kind of sit back and be a human. And we all are. I'm a little prankster myself.
And on that line, I have a question towards you, that because of you saying, being a musician and, your experience with symphonies, I'm curious your thoughts of, as music is evolving and like band instruments are now starting to be fused into orchestras, and so orchestra music is evolving and leaving what we consider the norm of orchestra music. Do you think at some point someone's going to sit down and say, singing bowls mixed into the orchestra, how much benefit could that be, and the sound work into the orchestra, and how, compose a whole orchestra around that? And do you think that's ever going to happen or even possible?
Why not? I think it would be similar to playing timpani. Because you can tune a timpani to different pitches, but I guess it would be kind of like a fixed, if it would be such a thing as a fixed timpani, you could play around those notes, because pretty much we have C, D, E, F sharp, A, or F sharp, G, and then A, and then B. And the ones that aren't notated with a sharp would be notated as natural. And so just kind of your ley line, the sharp would be a half step up, flat would be a half step down. And so that solfeggio, da 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 da, you can hear that half step jump in there, and that's in your major. And so it has that solfeggio sound of your major scale. And so it would be C major, or excuse me, with F sharp, that would be G major. But they start with a C, which I think it's interesting. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So it's like, it's done solfeggio style, but not on the root of the chord. And so anybody that would understand theory, like C would be the root of your chord on the C chord, or in this case, G, because there's an F sharp that would raise that. So it would be, let's see, C, G, A, B, C. So we're actually starting on the fourth of the chord, which is interesting. I don't know why they chose that particular arrangement on the crystal bowls. It sounds lovely when you play them, but it happens to be the way they chose it.
I wonder if it's because they're in a different frequency wavelength, that maybe their C is more our root, and so it balances it.
Maybe. That's an interesting theory on it.
Don't ask me where that came from, because
no, you're good. You're good. Well, these are done in A432. Like I said, it's tuned to the heart chakra bowl, or the A pitch, which would be, if you think of G-A-B, of course, the second note in the scale. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that to see why they chose the progression that they did. Going back to your orchestra thing, I think it would be amazing using the 432 bowls, not the 440 bowls, because the 440 is the dissonance or the devil's tones or whatever people want to say. I hope that we go back to 432 with our music.
Yeah.
Casey and I actually have talked about doing maybe some meditations with the bowls, and his guitar playing is beautiful. I mean, he can jam, just pull it out of the air. He's definitely in that range a lot more talented than I've ever been. I'm learning how to play more freestyle. I was always so structured in the orchestra that it's really fascinating to watch him as he goes. He just figures out with the sound, and it was kind of fun. We just jammed like that a few times.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because I'm wondering if they could, because I'm sitting there thinking, with MedBed technology being tossed around, and you have other like healing techniques and everything, with everything going on, it would be interesting to me to see the bowls in a symphony and everyone in the
right?
audience just sitting there, and whatever is ailing them when they leave the concert be like, it's gone because of the
That would be so
frequency
cool.
of the
Just like the
bowl.
MedBed Orchestra.
And so, I'm wondering if that's like a future possibility for medicine, as hospitals, instead of having TVs, piping programming in, plays like Tibetan bowl music with orchestra
That'd
undertone,
be really cool.
so that people don't sit there and go, well, I'm not in the Tibetan bowls, like you were saying. But they're like, the orchestra is really nice. I like the soothingness of it, and they get the benefit without knowing it.
Right. It'd be interesting. I think that's cool. See, you already put it out there, so somebody's got to feel that out. The energy is going to come back. As above, so below. It's created.
Yeah, find somebody who's willing to compose Tibetan bowl symphony music. How would you even describe that to someone, to go, yes, you need a Tibetan bowl to play this song?
Basically, you would say these are the pitches that the bowls are in, and can you write something around that? And so they would just use their theory. A lot of times you feel it out. When I've written music, it's been a couple different ways. So when I took music theory in college, we had to use like different temperament and kind of wrote in the classical style. And it was a short little piece, but writing other songs, when I write, I usually feel like I'll feel a tune, or like one of them. I'm trying to think which pitch. So you would just kind of play with pitches and tones to make a melody line. And then from there, you could add your bass line to it. Or you could think, okay, am I going to be playing am I striking? Am I drawing? And then what are we going to have with it? Are we going to have violins playing that? Are we going to have the flute, the woodwinds coming into this, the lead pieces? What are we going to have on the undertones for the bass line, for the cellos, so I could see how it could be done. It would be time consuming for someone that doesn't do it all the time. But I could see how it could be.
And I'm picturing, like you had the solo violinist going, and the composer going, and on Tibetan bowls is so and so. I'd be like, yes, how do you could make, get someone who can get the same response from the bowl every
I think it would be
time
just transposing that feel over to just the notes. in written form, and then having the orchestra read it and play it.
In which case, I wonder if they can make instruments that would carry the frequency of the bowl without the bowl.
You just tune your instrument. And so we, like, when I was in marching band, we would have, or orchestra, we had the A pitch. Da! That's A432. I'm thinking that the 440 is like, da! I think it's about that. I would have to listen to it again. It's sharp compared to 432. But I remember growing up, just when we would tune and I'd hear that and I was like, I hate that pitch. Now I know why, because it was A440. But like with my flute, I would have to pull my head joint out or push it in. Actually, I was putting it in more. And I'm noticing if I'm doing with the 432, I have to pull my head joint out to drop it flatter. And so it would just be tuning your instruments to a flatter sound, and you would just tune it to that A432. And then once you're tuned, then you would play with the bowls.
And I'm not gonna lie, it sounded like when you were a few minutes ago doing the different scales, finding it, I was like almost hearing like Irish music out of it. Like going, that sounds like going and listening to Irish singers. It's like your scales is like, I was like, wow, that sounded almost Irish.
I mean, I've got the blood there somewhere, the Irish and the Scottish and so many different bloodlines. It's fun. I know in my Akasha, for myself, I have memories of doing the energy work in Lemuria, and then Sirius C, like with the healing tones. I know that that's part of my star family. For myself, you know, people can believe what they want, but that's for me. I try to leave open for expression for people to have their beliefs, and so hopefully people would allow me that space. So I really feel there's times when I'm listening in my head and I'm just playing the bowls and tunes will come, or I'll hear a pitch like that's the air purifier running in my room. It's almost, that's a little sharp to the bowl. So it's probably close to a G.
And I actually have a question of something in your bio that you mentioned that I'm wondering if you've ever actually been asked on a show about, and that is multi-energy body balancing.
Oh, that's the session work I do. Our bodies have different frequencies, different levels. Like a lot of people may be familiar with the chakras or the energy fields that we have. There's the main chakras that most people are familiar with. You got like your root, which is red colored. The orange is your sacrum. Then you've got your navel area, that's the yellow. Your heart's green. Your throat's kind of a turquoise blue. And we've got indigo and kind of a violet that bursts out into a white color. There's several chakras actually well above your head and below your feet energetically, because we kind of have energy rings. If you think of an apple, like a torrid field that come around us at different spaces and that your chakras put out. But we also have chakras in our palms. We have them in our feet. We have them all over our bodies, depending on what we're going to be doing or sensing or feeling. It's just most people get tapped into the main, most familiar chakras. If you do Qigong or other excuse me, practices where you're moving your energy field, some people call it prana, chi. It's the, what is it? The biofield is other terms. There's so many different things, quantum biofield, that we refer to those. But it comes off in rings, I guess, the way I see it. I also see the electromagnetic field, which spirals up and down the body. like with the Kundalini, which is up, and the Kunda buffer, which goes back down. There's also a section that most people have that's kind of like a wing chakra. I just call it wing chakras. That when your energy on the Kundalini goes up, a lot of times you'll feel like a hug. You get the chill up your back. That's striking the energy field on your wing chakras. Some people can actually emit light there. I've seen when I've worked on them. There's some people that have more than one wing chakra. They have multiples. If you've heard of the seraphim in
I was going
the
to say the
biblical terms.
seraphim have multiple wings.
I've worked with several people that have basically in previous lives they were seraphim. And so it's interesting to see those kind of things. I can see, like, with the remote viewing side of it, I block my eyes off. This is EMF cap for anybody that's not sure. Like, I like to wear those just because it takes the static out. And then when I'm working on somebody, usually what I'll do is I'll cover my eyes completely, so that visual is gone. And then remote viewing and by location wise, I step into their energy field. A lot of people can actually feel me there and feel me going through, because it's like I expand myself and I become them. And so I'm feeling what they're feeling. I'm smelling or tasting, or there's been so many, every session is different. There's different things that come up. I mean, there's similarities. Like, somebody, maybe I've had several people that have like a total knee or a hip job that's been done, and I'll sense that hot spot with the metal in their body, and they'll be like, whoa, what the heck, I had a replacement on my knee, or you like totally hit that spot. Or there has been people that have had major injuries in different areas, and be like, well, there's a spot here, and I'll see an etheric attachment, and I do what's called psychic surgery, and I'll actually take those off. And so in that field that I'm seeing things, I'm telling that person what I'm seeing. I use a light bar scan method that the Monroe Institute talks about. If you've done their meditations, they had them on YouTube for a while, but they keep taking them off. I think it's because it might be violation of, I don't know, copyright stuff or whatever. People keep putting them on and take them off. The CDs are pricey. You can get them. I got them for about $300 on eBay used. They can be all the way up to $700 and something on the Monroe site itself.
That's Hemi-Sync.
The Hemi-Sync. It was worth it to me to get that. And when I first went through it, it took me about 6 weeks the first time and I was just flabbergasted with how I took to it. And then I realized, oh my God, they trained us with Hemi-Sync and NLP and with Project Phoenix and Montauk.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that makes sense why I was so drawn to that. But I noticed when I'm listening to the bowls or doing meditations like with these sound baths, is I can put myself back into the Hemi-Sync within just seconds. And so if that's something that you want to learn, I would highly suggest go to the Monroe Institute's website. You can, do an internet search for Monroe Institute. And they've got some free audios on there. They show how it works. It's really cool. On YouTube, there is the first session. I think that one is on there for free that you can listen to and experience. And it's just basically with tones. You've got one pitch in one ear and one pitch in the other. And that's where you get the binaural beats. Because when you play the two tones together, maybe I can see if I can. I don't know if you can hear that, but it almost makes that.
Yeah.
So that's that binaural beat that you would hear. When you bring the pitches closer together, the beat gets faster. And that's that dissonance that we hear. For some reason, it connects to the brain in the way that it causes us to synchronize both hemispheres in our brain, and it kind of quiets down the left brain, that analytical, like this is bullshit thinking type stuff, and it quiets that down and allows your creative mind to come out, that spiritual side or that awareness side. That's kind of what I think of myself even more over being religious or spiritual, that I'm a person of awareness and I'm aware of the things that are around me. And it's really kind of a cool sensation when you listen to those binaural beats. Anybody that hasn't done it, I'd say try it out. Another, YouTube search or internet search. Some things you could try out to just see how they feel. Excuse me.
One thing I was told, I think it was on an episode, is you have to be careful with the binaural beats because normal players can't hit it. So you can play it on, like, if you're playing it over your computer, you're not getting the binaural because it doesn't
it's not going to do that. You have to have it in stereo.
Oh, is it in stereo? They were saying you had to have specific players because they could run both at the same time.
As long as you've got it's in stereo, you can have a speaker on each side, or you can have headphones or earbuds in. Just as long as you've got one pitch here and one pitch here. You could even do it live and have a crystal bowl here and a crystal bowl here and put somebody in Hemi-Sync with the right notes together. So, like, for instance, your F sharp G together, it's going to put that the A B together because you're getting that half step, and so that'll put a very fast dissonance. If you do whole step, it'll be a little bit slower. If you do two step, like AC, that would be, instead of ABC, you got AC, then that's your third. So it just depends. Like the further it gets to it, it's the further apart that wave will be, and it'll sound like it's instead of if that makes sense.
It does, and I'm glad you shared that because I know from experience and talking with other people, they're like, oh, that Hemi-Sync stuff doesn't work. And I'm thinking it's because they didn't put it in binaural mode. They were playing it over regular.
Yeah, you have to have it in stereo right by your ears. So anybody that's not had any success with it, try it that way. Make sure that you've got the right speaker in your right ear and the left speaker in your left ear. Let's see. I see a question
It's
here.
My Hell is asking, does anyone ever reacted badly to binaural beats?
It's a really good question. I actually don't have an answer to that. Thinking about it just logically, I think if you were in a really, really, really low frequency, angry, pissed off all the time, just in a shitty mood, I think it would probably be agitating. Because if you think of church bells, for instance, a lot of people have testimonials, I guess, 100 years ago that a lot of churches would ring bells to keep evil out. And if we think of archons or evil spirits or beings, whatever people want to call them or whatever you believe it, that there's something negative, there's something dark, there's something that's kind of shitty. I mean, we've got the right side, the left side, the higher path, the lower path, whatever vibration you want to call it, and then the middle path. The truth is truth, whether it's tomato, however you want to talk about it in your religion or spirituality. When you really think about it, it all comes together very similarly, and that's okay. It could have its differences, you do you, I do me. It's where we're going in the end that is for us is the most important, and that's where a lot of people will be like, oh, that sucks because we could have a murderer. Yeah, we could have that, and it sucks for the people that are involved. But when you step aside without judgment, as much as that hurts, and you say, what lessons were those two able to learn, or those involved able to learn? Are they going to be able to take that into their next life and use that to help them to be a greater person, a better person, more compassionate? We don't know, because we only see this small picture instead of, the great creator of everything would see everything. Our higher selves would see that same thing. When we're down here, we're learning things that maybe we haven't mastered, and it's going to be a struggle. We're not going to have things. I need that light on.
Sorry.
Talking
My
about
sweetheart's,
frequency.
my sweetheart's pacing. There we go. He gave us light dark. Oh
So
my God, that's awesome.
I have an interesting theory to put towards you. If, say, talking about like what Kits Like Hell is asking, if someone has a nefarious intention behind what they're programming in the binaural, but you're in a more positive energy, would you, when you hear it, override their negative intention and keep it in a positive? Is that possible? Or would you succumb to the negative because you're listening to the binaural?
Great question. And again, if you think about it, where's your frequency in the moment? Like, not everyone's going to like to hear Aerosmith. I mean, there's things that, maybe people think, oh, that's the worst song ever. Maybe somebody's going to have one of his songs that touches them so much that they're like belting out and singing, and their energy is so high that even though those frequencies are 440, that they're able to punch through that and just be elated. And I think that it can be that way. I mean, it's better if we can put those things in alignment and be able to have them in alignment to start. But if they're not, then are we not overcoming maybe that difficulty? I think that it could be both ways the same. It just depends, like, where's our frequency, where's our attitude, where's our intent, and from there, how are we using that for ourselves? Even if it somebody, because we know in Hollywood and everything else, the Diddy crap and whatever, that a lot of music is made to destroy and harm. I mean, even the Hollywood deep state elitist, whatever they think they are, admit they don't let their children listen to it.
Right. And that's
So,
what
I mean,
I'm wondering
how are
is,
we taking it?
yeah, when you're listening, like, you listen in a car, so to speak, to the radio, you can't control who's coming on when.
Right.
And so there are certain musicians that I know who delve into the mind controlling, so to speak, aspect of music. So I do my best not to listen, but every once in a while you can't help but be in a situation where you're either going to get like 30 seconds of the song or half the song because you can't get to the radio right away.
Right.
And I'm like, can you, like you were saying, punch through it to where you're not getting the negative effect, even though it was being punched into you, so to speak. So
Which
that's
definitely
good.
shows the power of frequency and how we can use it with our own intent, with our own desire, which is really exciting when we think about that, because we have complete control over our lives when we can get a bearing on ourselves. And I know I'm not perfect. I have crappy days. I mean, I have days when I'm tired. I've been lately. I do have an aluminum toxicity right now that I just basically ordered a treatment for, which I'm excited. Cheryl Arbogast sent it to me. She's one of my favorite nurses. I love her, love her, love her. Awesome research. Anybody that's not familiar with her, she's a Cheryl Lee on Facebook. She's got some amazing detox information. I did notice that last year, excuse me, after I did the heavy parasite detox, that I noticed certain tones weren't bothering me as much. And so working on not just frequency, but what is it you're putting in your body? What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you getting up in the morning with the sunrise? Dr. Jack Kruse is an amazing neurosurgeon that I absolutely love. Because he wrote the constitutional amendment for El Salvador, and Bukele actually put it in because it has so much information and science. Not just, like, oh, follow the science. Actual hardcore studies on what light does to the body, paired up with he has information from, secret operations like the CIA, the FBI, people that were in the know, and how it works with like the SV40 virus, the simian 40 virus from the monkeys that were put in the vaccines. And that started with the polio virus, I think in the 70s or whenever that had gone on. And the studies, he talks about those on how that affects. He goes into so many different things. But the one thing that he really reiterates over and over and over is the importance of sunlight and frequency, and seeing and getting up for the sunrise. Because when we can get that purple light, that red blue light that comes only from the natural sun, that's when our bodies and our gut make serotonin that'll help us sleep that night. Right now, I've struggled a little. I'm getting, what sleep I can. But aluminum toxicity makes it really hard because it actually puts inflammation in the brain over the body. And so you get like exhausted, not nausea. I've had heart issues. And so I'm noticing that the tones of the bowls, it really helps me to feel better. Of course, I still need to detox those heavy metals, because not doing that and not, ignoring the signs of my body saying, help, detox, that could lead to another problem too. So we can't just sit on our thumbs saying, well, if I meditate all day, it's going to be just hunky-dory. Yeah. Yeah. Come on, any day now. Heal me right now. Okay. We have to do something. We got to get up off our butts. Don't be sedentary. Get up and walk. Get your heart rate up for half an hour. If you can't do that, at least move your butt, move your arms. Put on a song. Maybe you're stuck in a wheelchair and you can't get out. Bless your heart. Put on some music and try to wiggle. Get something. Get your blood moving. Get your energy going. So that frequency, that movement, it's light, it's sound, it's vibration, and that's what we're made of. We're made of these beautiful light colors and frequencies. And I think that's why music is so healing for us, because it's a part of us. It's a part of what we are. We resonate. And when we start to be true to ourselves and, do that shadow work, which is hard as hell. I still have shit I go through. It's just one bite at a time. You don't eat the whole steak just by shoving it down your throat. You'd choke. It would be too overwhelming to just do everything. So when we talk about doing shadow work, it's at your pace. And that's what I do as an energy worker. Is I understand, everyone has some level or another. Everyone has something about them that has light. Everyone that has something about them that's dark. We all do. And it's not killing the ego. It's not about that at all. It's about embracing and loving that damaged little child that makes us want to go, yeah, I'm better than that. I can do that. Mm-hmm. When we fall on our face, it's stepping aside and saying, okay, let me learn something new. Or, I did screw up. I need to take responsibility. Or, God, I was in some really crappy situations and I was victimized. That really sucks. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to say, what did I learn? And how can I use that to be better and to be more whole? And as we do that, each of us at a grassroots level, and we do it to ourselves, imagine what that does in healing our families, in our past DNA. We've had traumas. Everyone has traumas in our family. And bringing that together and how beautiful that is. And it doesn't matter how slow or how fast you do it. What is your level of comfort? And if there's anything that I can do to help with that, then that's an honor of mine. And maybe we'll work together at some time in the future. And if not, find someone that you resonate with. Because just like, people going to the doctor when they're sick and not just saying, okay, let's give a pill and, stick an enema up your butt or whatever to make it better. Find the root. What's the root? Let's pull that shit out. Let's dig out that cancer and even go a step further. Excuse me. What can we do to supplement to raise our spiritual immunity, to raise our awareness immunity, our, feeling our connection with that source of ourselves. God is within us. We are God. Whatever people want to say it is or isn't, at least try it. Go within. Listen to that inner voice that, some people want. That's the still small voice. It's the spirit. Okay, great. Call it the spirit. I don't care what the hell you call it. Tap into it. If you think it's gas, well, fart. Do something. I mean, it's taking action. It's doing something. So
Yeah.
Just doing something small for you that you can test and see, does this affect me positively? Does it help me out? Or did I not really notice anything? Cool. You tried it. That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
Well, and I think one of the things too that as we're talking about like languaging and like NLP and everything, that people don't realize what they're doing is when they like quote unquote fall or make a mistake and they look at themselves and go, I'm better than that. I should have known better. And I think that's a trap that we get into, especially as when listening, to ourselves as like the quote unquote spiritual people, or ones that are like advising everybody else. And it's like, and when we make that mistake, we're like, oh my God, how did I do that? Why didn't I see that coming? And we'll hit ourselves and take ourselves down even further than anybody
That
else
self-shame can really do damage.
Yeah.
I think being aware that, maybe we are better than that. Maybe our subconscious was like, fuck, let's try it. FAFO. I love the comment.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you gotta have those sneakers, right? Just
Yeah.
You gotta laugh. That's one thing I love with Buddha. One of his sayings is laugh at life. I mean, why not? Why not?
Yeah. Kids Like Hell has a good question for you that I think a lot of people could benefit from. And is there any advice for us if friends and family stay negative?
Boundaries. People in their trauma tend to lean towards the narcissistic side. People with extreme trauma can go worse. We get into the psychopaths and the sociopaths. So number one, be safe. Be careful. Sometimes you have to sever ties. And I have done that before, and it sucks. And we've come back full circle because of boundaries. And so communication, boundaries, sometimes things aren't communicatable. Unfortunately, a lot of times religion can cause major rifts in families. And that's really sad. It's unfortunate. And I would hope that anybody that's out there listening that might be on the more religious side to just think, really, truly, what would Jesus do?
Funny you say that because I was just thinking that.
It's really true.
What would Jesus do? And it's
and it's really a good thought. Even if you're not religious, what would Jesus do? On one hand, he might flip some tables and flip you off. Say, fuck the establishment. On the other, he's going to look at that person that's hurting and have compassion and say, it's shitty what they did. Who knows what they're doing right now? Maybe I don't agree with it. But rather than thinking of how crappy that person might be, what would it be like to have gone through what they went through? That's part of the Hoffman process. When there's several different things with the Hoffman process that I love. It's a type of NLP, neurolinguistics programming. But when you look at the inner child, sit yourself down and imagine yourself like you're a 3 or a 5-year-old, and you're sitting next to the person that, that maybe your dad's a dick. Maybe he's just self-centered and he doesn't know how to love himself. And so he projects to everybody else. And everyone's just like, he's always pissed. He's going to yell at us. He's going to shame me. And whatever I do is never right. And that sucks. It hurts. That's a very deep trauma because that's your daddy. You want that dad love. You want that approval, that praise. Sometimes we're not going to get it. And we've got to be able to be okay with ourselves and not be affected if someone's treating us shitty or treating us great. Don't let it get to your head. Don't let it be personal. And with that Hoffman process, sitting down in your mind as that little kid and make that person the same age. How do little 5-year-olds usually act? They might put the arm around the friend. You okay? You seem sad. And then maybe in your mind's eye, ask that person, what happened to you that made you turn out this way? How come you started treating me this way? What hurt you so bad that you would hurt your child? Or whatever that relationship is. And just be quiet and listen in your mind. What comes to you? Those can be lessons. In my case, where I've had different rifts with family members that were very close to me at one time, that, like I said, it's come around. I had to take a break for a few years. I had to block phone numbers. I had to block emails. And I wrote a letter and I said, this is the problem. This is what I'm noticing. This is what I've endured. And, whatever it is that's going on with you, I'm so sorry. I hope that, you can be healed, and whatever trauma it is, I can't give you what you want. I will never live up to that. And it has to be okay with me first. And then, with the person that I had the issue, I had to put the boundary down. I will not talk religion with you. I will not talk politics, because I know that is a means of friction and it's not worth that relationship. And so I had to put that boundary. And when he would sneak that back in, I would turn around and I would say, I'm not going to disrespect you. And I would walk away, or I would hang up the phone. Sometimes we have to do that, but boundaries and communication are so important in gaining your power back, standing in your power. They might be hurting internally so bad, they don't know how to be. You've been their punching bag for so long. But you've got to take that power back. And sometimes we have to sever those connections for a while. And I'm so sorry for those of you that are going through that right now. I know that hurts very much. What can you do right now to think about things what are you grateful for? At least 5 things. And if you can't think of 5, think of 1. And then from there, think of something else. I mean, are you grateful you got your hands, your fingers, your eyelashes, you got hair on your head, you can fart? I mean, there's people that have digestive issues that maybe can't have a regular bowel movement. Maybe they have to take some sort of helper somewhere. Maybe they have heartburn or heart condition, or, I don't know. I wish them well, and I hope they can find their way. And I have so much compassion on that. I've had enough health issues myself. I don't have to go through the list right now, but I get it. It sucks. And I really, truly hope that you can find the healing that you're looking for. For myself, it's been the attitude. It's been, how can I stand on my own 2 feet through these trials, through the health issues, through the depression, through the anxiety, and yes, I've attempted suicide. What can you do to find your gratitudes? And build from there. Find a network of support. Sometimes your family isn't blood. Sometimes your family is that tight-knit little group that you're creating right now on Facebook or Instagram. You're connecting across nations, across states, across cities, maybe even in the same city. What can you do to get together and have that support group and work through those things and learn to forgive yourself and to forgive the other person? Just like holding on to a rope that's burning you, if you just let go of that, you don't have to get burned anymore. And that's part of the thing that's the hardest with doing the shadow work, is letting go and allowing yourself to forgive.
And I normally don't do this, but Kits Like Hell, I'm going to chime in a little bit because I've had to go through this, and especially with family. And I had a situation where family was fighting against family and creating trauma, and a lot of bad blood came up, and the short of it was I was blaming myself for it and thinking, what did I do? What was wrong with me that caused this to happen? Because I, for some reason, took responsibility for it, and it led me into studying metaphysics. It led me into studying a whole bunch of different modalities. And what I ended up learning after 30 years, I'm sad to say, of studying myself, was I did nothing wrong. It was on them. And I needed to stop trying to reach out to them and build a bridge because I wasn't the one that destroyed the bridge. So it wasn't mine to build. And so I came to peace with they walked away. They're having a life without me, and that's fine. And I'm all right with that. And if they show up on my door, one of my sisters, I have two of them that were instigating all of this. One I would talk to at the door. I may let her in the entry, but that'd probably be all. And then send her on her way or, whatever. And my other sister, I wouldn't even talk to her at the door. I would just ignore it, act like I wasn't home, and just because I know the toxic level of what's coming from experience. And so many times of trying to do the right thing as they tell you to do because it's family and getting burned that I finally come to it's not mine. It's theirs. They have to make the move. They have to make the gesture. And I'm okay with, if they make a gesture, if I accept it or not, I'm okay with either way. And that's, I think, where the true healing begins of it because I have totally taken myself out of the equation and have put myself in a position of if they are willing to try and I feel they're willing to try, I'm willing to try, but I'm not going to be the whipping stool and the, what do they call it? The welcome mat
Oh yeah, the welcome mat.
that, going to let them just walk all over and say, oh, well, your family, I had to do this. No, they have to earn their way back. And that is a hard lesson to learn. And it's a really powerful lesson to learn. So
Looks like you got your power back. I love it.
Yeah,
that's an excellent example of taking back your power and ending that generational cycle of trauma and abuse. You ended it with yourself. And so you're giving permission now for them to do the same. I mean, maybe you guys had some pretty shitty karma in past lives and you had to come together this time to work it out. Guess what? You just got an A on the test.
Well, and one thing that's interesting, Amária, is I would tell people when I was in my 20s and 30s going, I don't have two sisters. I don't have a large family, even though I did out there. And they would say, what do you mean? I said, blood does not make family. The people that I choose around me that I can trust and confide in, that's my family.
100%.
Family does not make blood. And when you said that, it's like I was like, wow, we're in sync on that one.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this has been really cool. It's been a really great discussion. I think that being able to tie frequency into our own healing, like with our traumas and integrations, it's just a good thing to understand. Because like we have so many opportunities every day for resonance. I mean, just try the sunrise and listen to the birds. Those guys are not moping around. They're not like, oh, twig, fuck this. Oh man, they're up with the sunrise. They're like, yeah, dude, that worm, I'm gonna get that bitch. I mean, that's just, I love birds, man. They cheer me up. I love it in the morning.
I was just laughing because when Twitter came out, I was like, I will not get on Twitter because I will not tweet. I'm not a tweeter. And when
Well,
it
don't be a
became
twat
X,
either.
I was like, when it became X, I'm like, all right, I'll get on it now and I'll see what it's like because people will still say, "Oh, so you're tweeting?" I was like, "No, I'm on X."
I don't know why it came to my head. And it's like the X you think, I don't know why I see in my mind like somebody's hand drawn cat with his butthole. There's like the X. I just, oh my god.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, laugh at life.
Yeah. But before we go, I wanted to let you know something interesting that I came across on my road trip, Amária,
Oh,
that
nice.
I think will really surprise you. And that is, I went to Oklahoma City to meet in and do a kind of scouting investigation, I call them, where they're small investigation, not a big one. And I met a team there, the Afterlife Paranormal Researchers of Oklahoma, I believe is what they're called, API. And one of the techniques that they were doing to raise the energy to help spirit that was there, or the energies that were in the location we were at, they put a singing bowl on and
Oh,
started
that's
to
cool.
play singing bowls. And I was like, I had never thought of using singing bowls to communicate with the other side. And I was like, I
That's
thought
really
that was a
cool.
really cool thing. So I thought you'd appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, that is really cool. I like that. Thank you. It makes sense though, because just with my experience, afterlife, near death experiences, and remote viewing, bilocation, secret space program, where we go when we sleep is where we go when we die.
Yeah.
It's a real place. It's very real. And I heard an interesting concept. Excuse me. That we're preparing for the afterlife every time we sleep. That where we go is kind of prepping us. And so that's why it's so important to be conscious, to be aware. And even with our dreams, and I mean, I fall short. There's a lot of nights I'll go a week and I'm like, oh crap, I got to get back on my meditation. Maybe I'm exhausted that week or something. I put in some extra hours. We all do it. And I'm not perfect. I'm every day I get up at 4 a.m. and I get up and I'm getting ready for work. So, make that time for yourself for that awareness. And when you go to bed, I put the intention as much as I often can, because there are nights when, like I said, I fall short. What is it that I've been dreaming? Sometimes I'll start noticing patterns and I'm just like, what's this? Show me the pattern. Show me the dream, practice, meditate, be in touch with yourself. Just like Yeshua, Jesus said, know thyself, know yourself. The only way to really, truly know yourself is by digging in. We can disassociate all we want in life. That's not going to do us any good. That's not going to face our fear. So sometimes we have to look in the mirror and we got to look at ourselves and really, really, really take note, what's going on here? Do I like what I see? Do I like what I feel? Do I like how I sound? If not, what can I change? So being aware has really changed my life for the better.
And one thing I'd like to piggyback on that is, as we're saying, meditate and do that, we're not saying you have to sit in a chair or sit on your bed and be still.
Right.
I was talking with another guest, and we were talking about meditating, and they were like, doing your laundry can be a meditation. Cooking can be a meditation. Going for a walk can be a meditation.
Absolutely.
So don't limit yourself and be like, oh, I can't sit still for 10 minutes, so I can't meditate. Find a activity that works for you that you can turn into your meditation.
Absolutely. Do you crochet? Do you draw? I mean, there's another thing, right?
Right.
I think we can definitely find different outlets that, one of the things that Casey and I like to do, we love to play disc golf. Just strolling through the park, and sometimes I shoot a great round, sometimes it's not as good as I'd like, but it's just the act of getting out and walking, connecting to nature, getting that sunshine and that, semi fresh air. The chemtrails. Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. But yeah, I think that we're headed in a great direction. I don't follow a lot of the gloom and doom crap. I mean, yeah, be prepared to a point. If the world's going to end, it's going to end. Let's do it with a bang. Come on, bitches. Let's just do it. I mean, if it's not, then let's do it. Whatever you're going to do, grab onto it and do it with purpose. Do it with some gusto, just like the horses when they want to kick up their heels and fart. Do it with gusto. Do it with gusto.
And one of the things that people don't notice is whenever talking with a doom and gloomer and they're telling how bad everything is, and I'm like, and I'll say to them, but if I focus on the positive, doesn't that put out an energy that alters and can possibly change so this doesn't happen? And they go, well, yeah. I'm like, well, so why are you
choose to focus on that shit?
Yeah, it's like, why are you telling me life is over?
Exactly.
If you change your mindset and your thoughts, you can change it so that it is possible.
Yep.
Like, why
what did Mary Poppins say? Just a spoonful of sugar. Put some sugar in that step. Well, that's cool.
That should be the funny thing to do. Every time someone gets to be in doom and gloom and go, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I like it.
And watch everybody be like, what in the world? Go, yeah. Let's focus on that.
I'm going to be that annoying happy guy now. Wait, I think that most of us are trying our best. And so just keep your chin up and realize that, we're going to have our crappy days, and just do the best that you can in the moment. Just stay in the moment and do the best you can when you have to. Sometimes you got to cry. Sometimes you got to let things out. Sometimes you do that really quick and try to get back on the higher energy thing, because that release is definitely needed too. Balance.
Iron Bear says, I gotta remind my wife at times not to be so dang negative. Good luck with that one.
I think sometimes the hormones kick in with us ladies, and breathe, put your arm around her and give her a kiss and remind her how much you love her, and just keep raising those frequencies, right?
Yeah. Just surrender without surrendering.
Exactly. We don't have to put the white flag up, but we can say, I need some boundaries.
I just wouldn't recommend disappearing for a week.
I mean, it might be needed for some people, but just make sure you at least let people know, loved ones, I'm okay. I just need some space. I need to have a little vacay and time on myself alone. I'm gonna go fishing for a week, so I'm okay. I'm okay. At least let people know that you're going, so you're not nobody's looking. Have search and rescue out looking for you.
Be like, why are you gone? Oh, well, it's be like, oh, yeah, we'll let you hide for a couple more days.
Can I take an extension on that? I mean,
can we move in with you?
I'm definitely looking forward to Florida, going to that. I think as we close out, we can close with that. Just the Full Disclosure Now conference coming up in Florida, St. Petersburg. It's going to be July 15th to the 18th. And a lot of awesome speakers. Michael and I are going to be presenters there. Excited to hear you. I'm going to be doing sound bath energy work. And so we're planning on doing some on the beach in the mornings and then a big shindig towards the end. And so we're still trying to work that out with Farana. She's the one that's scheduling. But anybody that hasn't really thought about it, take a look at it. Full Disclosure Now. I think that's we could look it up and put the link on the show.
I have it. Let me go grab it.
Yeah. Brian Zing has been amazing to put that together for us, and love it.
It's a new link and a new site, so.
Right, because I guess they did just redo the website.
So you'll have to log in to access.
Oh, there we go.
But
nice.
It's cool. Free to log in and just to see what's going on, but yeah.
I'm gonna look around.
I'll be emceeing the solar stage, so I'm gonna have fun with that, and feel my podcast skills will come in handy with that.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Try to keep everybody on schedule. Yeah. Good luck with that one.
We got it.
But yeah, it'll be cool to hang out with you in person, and
it will be. There's a lot of people I'm excited to meet, and I will be doing one-on-one session work as well. So I'll have a sign-up sheet for those that are wanting to, in a time frame that I'll be doing sessions. So make sure to accommodate for people that are wanting that.
There you go. There's a reason enough to go.
There we go. Excuse me.
All right, and with that being said, we are going to call it a night because some of us have to get up early, and we actually want to work at 6 a.m.
Yep.
We went a little bit longer, so I'm not going to take too much advantage of that.
Well, I appreciate you having me on earlier so that we could do this, so I can be able to go to bed early. I got to actually get ready for bed pretty soon. Anybody that's interested in session work, you can get a hold of me at heartmindexpressions@outlook.com. And just shoot me a little message there, and we can work it out. I do work full-time here in Utah. But I do work days, and so 6 a.m. to 2:30. So usually in the evenings now, I've made that to where I'm available, because a lot of people were needing evenings more. So, and then Sunday, Mondays, I have off. And so if somebody needs to have a morning, I could do that and accommodate. I have worked with people worldwide, and amazing, lovely people. And I'm taking a course right now on leadership and creating courses. And so hopefully I've had a lot of requests from people that are wanting to learn how to do a lot of the stuff that I can do, seeing and feeling. And so I'm trying to figure out, how can I do this and gear it to people, because understanding that everyone's a little different. Some people are visual, some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, kind of touchy-feely. Some people get triggered with smells and taste. And so kind of gearing some sort of class to where we can start tapping into people's natural psychic abilities through their already manifesting abilities.
Very cool.
We'll see. I'm like, knock on wood.
Yeah,
keep it. We'll have fun.
Yeah. Keep me informed of how that's going.
Yeah, it's been a cool class. So,
And one last thing for you before I go, and I don't mean to end this on an emotional note, but deal with it, as we've been saying all night. Thank you for what you're doing in service of humanity. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful for everything you share with us.
That's very kind. I appreciate you too, Michael. It's been a beautiful experience reconnecting with you, especially from my memories in childhood. It'd be hopefully those memories will start coming up for you as well with a lot of the trainings that we went through, and just being able to be reconnected as friends in the here and now is such an honor. You're a very gentle soul, beautiful, beautiful heart. And I love what you're doing with your show. I think that that's cool that you're connecting people a little bit differently than kind of the rigs that we see around. It's cool. I like the difference. I like the change.
Well, thank you. Now I'm getting a little misty-eyed.
Oh, well, much appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, and real quick, Kitzla Hell's asking if you can do the sessions remotely.
Mm-hmm. I do. Usually I'll do a phone call or a video call. Either way works, and kind of get to know you a little bit, chit chat. I don't like too much information because just like remote viewing, you don't want to taint the water. And so I'll get some basics, feel out the energy, shield us, and go from there. I've had a lot of people that have done them. I think that's exactly what we did with you. I can't remember if we did a video or audio, but
yeah, we did just audio. We didn't do video, but yeah, it was totally worth it. And thank you for watching, Kitzla Hell, and thank you everybody for commenting and for your questions. And we are going to call it a night and let our lovely guest get some sleep so she's not head to the world tomorrow and blaming us for it.
But here we go. I'll have to show my shirt because I'm sure, just seeing the sore tomorrow, or was it sore now, stronger tomorrow?
There you
So
go.
remember, sometimes the things that we do hurt a little bit in the moment, just like exercise, getting those muscles going. But I believe in you. I mean, crap, if I can do it, I know you can do it.
Yeah. We've overcome a lot, so if we can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely. It's a journey. It's a total journey. Love you guys. Thank you so much again, Michael, for having me on.
Yes, thank you. All right. Good night, everyone.
We'll see you guys.